Bomb Squad. What's up, man? It's Geo Boxing Empire, Backsport Boxing. You see my boy, you see my boy Wilder, man. He's looking big. He's looking swole. He's looking like a whole nother person. You know, it's wild stuff, man. Because usually when fighters get stopped, their game completely changes. It completely changes. What do I mean by that? Well, usually fighters who get knocked, let's say, let's just use this for example. And Deontay Wilder, when people get stopped and they're a power puncher, and you get stopped by someone walking you down, doing what you do best, it usually mentally destroys you, right? Now understand that Deontay Wilder is the hardest puncher in heavyweight history, right? He has the highest knockout ratio in heavyweight history, and understand that Deontay Wilder was on a road. Actually, he tied Muhammad Ali's record, right? So with that being said, he was doing it about all knockouts. A lot of people were saying that the Tyson Fury fight, that's not a knockout, so he didn't do about all knockouts. But Deontay Wilder dropped Tyson Fury, and that was a 10-second count, right? It's all on tape. You can look at it yourself. All you gotta do is Google it. Go on YouTube and say 10-second count Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. The shit will pop up. With all that being said, man, Deontay Wilder defended his title with all KOs. Usually fighters who get stopped like that, they tend to change their style up, right? They tend to lose faith in what they did best. And understand that Deontay Wilder, when he fought Tyson Fury, that was the heaviest he ever came in the fight with Tyson Fury, right? He was 231 pounds. That was a career high for Deontay Wilder. He's never came in at that weight before in his career. He's never been that big before. So with that being said, Deontay Wilder, he didn't stop getting bigger, man. Look at him. He's huge now. He's gotten even bigger. And in my opinion, I think he's going to come in even bigger for this fight. I think he's going to come in and bigger than 231. He might come in at around 240. Who knows? 245. With everyone sitting down on their butt during this pandemic, you know, it's just pretty easy to think that Deontay Wilder can get that big because everything was shut down, right? So with all that being said, you know, people like George Foreman, when he got stopped by Muhammad Ali, you know, he didn't come back for a very, very long time because he lost confidence in himself, right? And when he came back as the oldest heavyweight champion by knocking out the heavyweight champion. So with all that being said, a lot of people, you know, want to trash Deontay Wilder and said he couldn't compete with the all-time greats. Well, George Foreman is still alive. People act like all these all-time greats are still dead. They're all alive and kicking, chilling, right? They're all chilling. And George Foreman, he's going for Deontay Wilder. In fact, George Foreman reached out for Deontay Wilder to train Deontay Wilder, and he said he'll be back and he'll be stronger than ever, and he's gonna win the fight. So it always, you know, blows my mind how these fans, they say, "Oh, Ali's the best, but you still got these old fighters who fought Ali. And one of the reasons why Ali was so great was the George Foreman win. That was one of his biggest wins in his career. Obviously, Ali is greater. He's seen as the greatest boxer of all time. Not because of that, because of Joe Frazier fights and the things he did outside the ring. But I'm talking about purely boxing. You know, George Foreman fought Ali. He's seen the best. He fought the best, right? And if you actually watch Foreman versus George Frazier, man, Foreman walked through Joe Frazier like he was nothing. Dropped him like 5 times. It was awful, just awful. Now, I suggest you guys watch that fight, man. Classic, man. I mean, it's funny, man. It's funny. I gotta talk about it real quick, man. I seen Joe Frazier hit Foreman with his power left hook, and Foreman just look at Joe Frazier. I never seen so much fear in a fighter's eye. And then Foreman just walked right through Joe Frazier. It was awful. It was awful. But Foreman was a monster back in the day, man. And it's crazy because he didn't weigh that much. But we look at him in the ring, he looks like this muscle. It's just gross, like a superhero or something. And Foreman was a monster back then. People were writing Ali letters talking about, "Hey man, Foreman's gonna kill you. Don't fight him," you know. But you know, all that being said, Foreman's still going for Deontay Wilder, a power puncher siding with a power puncher. I mean, hey, you know, maybe he sees the whole situation happening over again, but you know, we're gonna see what happens in this fight, man. But we see Deontay Wilder getting stronger. We see him getting bigger, and this only spells trouble for Tyson Fury because Deontay Wilder didn't lose focus in who he is as a fighter. A lot of fighters, like I said earlier, changed their whole fighting style. Deontay Wilder didn't change anything. Not only that, he's looking bigger and stronger than ever. And not only did he change his trainer, but he stuck to what he made him unique. Usually people change trainers and they change their style as well. Deontay Wilder has changed trainers, but he's still sticking to what got him there in the first place, which is extremely rare. Usually people who lose the fights, they blame their trainer, leave the guy, and then they start doing something completely different. Deontay Wilder fired his trainer, got a new trainer, does what he does, and he's getting bigger, and he's still adding to his game. You know, this is what I like to see, man, and it's extremely rare in boxing. And usually in boxing, what happens is the trainer literally makes the fighter. But we all know that, you know, his last trainer didn't really make Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder wasn't really fundamentally sound, right? He's known as a raw fighter with an amazing straight right, a really good time straight right. You know, we all know that his trainer wasn't really making him that way because it's too instinctual. You can look at it and tell. You know, now Malik Scott, on the other hand, he looks like he's molding Wilder until he wants him to be. You know, like I said earlier, usually when trainers leave fighters, they're basically done. You know, you know, like if Floyd was never training with Roger Mayweather or Senior Mayweather, he wouldn't be the fighter he is. He wouldn't be all-time great. He probably would have took some L's, right? This is facts, because his style is based around the Philly show, right? It's not like that with Deontay Wilder, and he has the discipline to make himself the fighter who he wants to be, which is extremely rare. Only a few fighters can really be at the highest level of sport boxing with no trainer or a really trash trainer. And Deontay Wilder, let's be honest, he had a trash trainer. With Malik Scott, he's always been known as a boxer, and that's what Deontay Wilder needs, is fundamentals. And Deontay Wilder is smart enough to know, you know, who he needs in his camp. All that being said, man, Tyson Fury, the guy, you know, his days are numbered, man. You know, the time is ticking for the guy. He's been delaying these fights. He hasn't been ready. You know, he's faking COVID tests. This guy, you know, I almost feel bad for him. But I'm trying to get this heavyweight ball moving, man. We want to see these fighters fight. And Deontay Wilder is one of the more active fighters in the heavyweight division. You know, the guy has fights, 42 fights, 41 knockouts, right? Understand that, you know, fighters retire at 50-0, like Floyd Mayweather, 50-0, they're done. Over a 20-year period, period. Deontay Wilder has not been fighting for 20 years. You know what I mean? He just started in 2008, so it's been like 13 years, give or take. Yeah, it's been like 13 years. So, you know, 7 more years time, if Deontay Wilder kept fighting, he could easily be 60-0, easy, because he fights he's so active. 7 more years, 7 fights, 3 fights a year. 7 years, right? 3 fights a year, that's 21 fights. So you add 21, that's 73 fights Deontay Wilder can get to. You know, this is Deontay Wilder. This is how active he is. He's definitely one of the most active heavyweight champions of our generation right now. He fights more than Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. He fights like once every 2 years. So that all being said, man, you know, I want to see Deontay Wilder with this title back again. I think he's going to win it. And, you know, we want activity back in the heavyweight division, because this whole delaying and I'm sick and my family's sick with the excuses with Tyson Fury, it's exhausting, man. And these Tyson Fury fans, man, they're having buyer's remorse. They wanted this heavyweight champion. They wanted Tyson Fury, and it's cute and all until you actually get Tyson Fury. A lot of people like the idea of Tyson Fury, but when you actually get Tyson Fury and he's over here fighting once every 2 years, you know what I mean? Because Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury a very, very long time ago. How long ago? Well, he fought him 2020, February 2020, right? It's almost 2022 when they fight, you know, and they're almost pushed it back again because Tyson Fury had family problems. So if everything would have went to Tyson Fury's way, you wouldn't see Deontay Wilder fight Tyson Fury for 2 years. This is Tyson Fury. This is how he fights, right? It's big facts. So, you know, that all being said, man, Tyson Fury is extremely inactive. I don't want to see him as champion. He's too inactive. The guy cheats too much. And, you know, I want to see the American heavyweight champion with the title again. Ty Muhammad Ali's record, you know, doing big things in the sport of boxing. And he's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with that right hand. Alabama slammer. Let me know you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geoboxing Empire. Peace. Geoboxing Empire.